More than ready. We've been organized for a long time. We would purchase our units.
So this is me at a Senate hearing. But what am I talking about? Talking about we ready to take over. We ready. What am I saying we're ready for? Okay, first, let me introduce myself. My name is Red Young. I am a tenant organizer in Hell's Kitchen, New York City. What I'm saying we are ready for, ready to take over my building. We are ready to own and run the building on our terms. Well, how would we do that? How would tenants be able to own their own buildings and their own apartment units? There is new legislation called TOPA, or the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, and that would allow tenants to purchase the buildings they live in if their landlord happens to be selling. So in the case of my building, my landlord wants to sell the building, but since he won't make much of a profit, he's unwilling to sell it to the buyers who are available right now. So our solution is, why don't you just sell it to us, the tenants? But right now, there isn't a law in place that makes it so that the landlords have to talk to us, the tenants, when the landlord is selling the building. Long story short, I want tenants in New York and across the country to be able to own the buildings they live in, to create a sort of autonomy and sovereignty for what they live. This is an idea I call housing freedom. We've had different movements in the past, the civil rights movement. We've had women's suffrage. We've had slave rebellions and revolutions, and they have all resulted in this idea of freedom that we have kind of lost now. One of the last things that holds us back, one of the last things that we don't have freedom in, is housing. And in fact, most people are renters, especially in New York. In New York City, 70% are renters. That's a pretty big number. So more than likely, if you're watching this video, you're probably a New Yorker. You probably are a renter. And wouldn't it be nice to be a homeowner without having to go through all the process of mortgage, purchasing a home, all of that stuff? You basically want to be able to own your home that you already live in. If you're like me, you love an apartment that you either grew up in a neighborhood that is very close to you. You want to be able to own that building, or at least own the unit. So TOPA, or the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, would allow tenants to do that. It would allow them to come together and either pool their money together or get funding from community land trusts, community land acts that allow tenants to receive funding from nonprofits for building purchases, unit purchases, technical assistance, upkeep. And that's why I was speaking to these politicians, basically saying, can you include us in your budget for the 26 fiscal year? Can you include us in your budget so that we can have money as tenants to be able to purchase the building and manage it ourselves? New York State has a lot of money, and $250 million, which is what our ask is a fraction compared to, not only their overall budget, but the amount